Cueva, Los Angeles
Yo,
tragedy.
calm down. Let me speak
On May
first.
30th,
Calm down, nigga. Fuck. The most painful cave deaths ever, forever.
1999, Francis Reyes, an
1999,
experienced
people
National
are
Cave
cave
Rescue
diving?
Commission guide, led
Wait,
17
1999,
people into
that's
Cueva,
not
Los
that. Damn,
Angeles,
I'm born in
and Puerto
2000.
Rico. Among them was
Oh,
Elba
damn, I'm old now.
Cave shortly after noon.
I just said 1999, niggas. I just treated 1999 like it was 1964, and I'm right on the corner.
And the group followed a stream passage that initially seemed safe. As they went deeper,
I'm not
Reyes
cave
noticed the stream's
diving.
flow got stronger. The group didn't know that heavy rain had fallen in faraway mountains, sending water
You didn't check the forecast?
rushing through the cave. Feeling danger, Reyes decided to take the group toward higher ground. As the water level started to rise, the gentle stream became a dangerous current and panic set in. He told everyone to climb a steep rocky slope leading to an upper passage.
The fuck are they
Reyes
climbing
and
through?
Vasquez were last. As they approached the slope, Vasquez had trouble keeping her balance on the slick ground and fell.
no,
The current
Jesus.
swept her downstream
Oh,
right
no.
away. Her head struck the cave wall and she lost consciousness. Reyes
What the
jumped
fuck is
into
the
the
helmet?
dangerous
What the fuck is the helmet for?
water immediately.
How fast was she
Fighting
going?
against the current, he reached Vasquez and grabbed her with one arm while bracing against rocks with the other. Struggling against the powerful flow, he made his way back to the slope with Vasquez still unconscious. When he reached the bottom of the slope, he was almost too tired to move. Using his last bit of strength, he lifted Vasquez up, and the
No.
group pulled her to safety on dry ground
No.
above. As Reyes attempted to climb
No.
up himself, a huge wave surged through the passage. It struck him with tremendous force, breaking his grip on the rocks. Vasquez, now conscious, reached for him desperately. Their fingers briefly touched before the current pulled
No.
him beyond reach as he was swept away into the cave. The other guides led the group to a dry chamber higher in the cave, and they waited there together, making sense of what just happened while Vasquez sat apart from the group, crying. Rescuers arrived by dawn, but struggled with the high water levels. Hours later, they reached the trapped group and rescued them. Despite her injuries, Vasquez insisted on walking out without assistance. Vasquez was taken to the hospital where she was found to be in good condition, but unfortunately, Reyes's body was recovered.
Yeah, I want to end the video right now. That pissed me off, bro. Was he the group leader? I mean, I think he was. So I get it, but like, bro, I'm sorry, bro. You can't make me no group leader of no cave diving stuff, cause I'ma leave your ass. Like, I don't know, like that's so fucked up. Like, he lost his life saving somebody.
Covered downstream later that day.
I hate people that lose their
Roaring
life
River
saving people.
Cave. On October 14th, 2022, a team of cave divers
Damn,
came
that's
to explore the underwater passages of Roaring River Cave in Missouri. This cave was challenging to dive as its underwater passages went down steeply, requiring special diving skills and equipment. The team had specific jobs. 2 divers would go to the deepest parts of the cave. Eric Hahn, a 27-year-old diver, would work with another diver, which we'll call Marty, to place extra air tanks at 130 feet and 190 feet below the surface. These tanks would provide emergency air if needed. Hahn used a special breathing
That's
device
smart.
called a rebreather.
In all the
This
stories
equipment
I've heard, I've never seen people planting air bombs. Like, obviously not air bombs, but you know, they're planting the air shits so they could use it in case, you know, emergencies. I've never heard that. That's smart.
reuses breathing gas by removing carbon dioxide and adding oxygen as needed, allowing divers to stay underwater longer. At 11:12 a.m., Hahn entered the water and started following the guideline. As he went deeper, it got colder and darker, with only his dive lights showing the way. 12 minutes later, Hahn reached the 190-foot point. He briefly met with another diver who later said Hahn seemed fine with no signs of trouble. Just 1 minute later, though, something went wrong. Hahn suddenly crashed into his partner Marty and began swimming up quickly, which is dangerous at that depth.
No, you
Marty
can't
knew
do
this
that.
was an emergency and followed Hahn
gotta
to
grab
help.
him.
Marty caught up when Hahn hit a rocky ceiling at
My nigga, he's
165
panicking.
feet. Hahn was struggling with his breathing equipment. The situation got worse when Hahn pulled out his mouthpiece without closing it, letting water into his breathing system. These convulsions
What kind
matched
of
the
panicking
signs
is
of
this?
oxygen poisoning, which happens when a diver breathes too much oxygen at depth. Marty tried to hold Hahn while managing both the convulsing diver and the emergency
How old is
mouthpiece,
Hahn?
but they ended up sinking to the bottom at 204 feet. The water quickly became cloudy as their struggle stirred up silt from the cave floor, and eventually, it became too dangerous for Marty to continue the rescue. He couldn't see the guideline anymore.
Yeah,
He was getting
I was gonna say
tired,
that.
and his own air supply was running low. Meanwhile, another
I
diver
was gonna say that one thing about divers, water divers, they hate is that shit that he just talked about. When the ground starts, you know, and you can't see vision, oh, that will kill you.
had gone up to get
That
help.
happens, you gotta
Marty,
get out of
forced
there.
to give up the rescue attempt, started going back up and met another team member during a safety stop. This diver tried to go down to help Han but faced the same problems: cloudy water, distance from
told
the
you.
safety line, and dangerously high oxygen
cloudy
levels at
water
that depth.
thing,
Just
that's the
23 minutes
real
after
killer.
Han entered the water,
I've
another team
watched
member
a
saw
lot of
Marty
these
coming back
stories.
without Han. The surface manager stopped any more rescue attempts, telling all divers
No
to
more
complete
rescue
their
attempts.
safety
No one
stop.
even tried to rescue Han. They just tried to go get him. I mean, that's the same thing. But you know what I mean, though. Like, that wasn't a rescue team. Like, those people diving were... I mean, unless they're safety divers that were just diving with Han, that makes sense, but yeah.
And exit safely. Rescue operations began at 4 p.m., almost 5 hours after Han entered the waters.
So I'm not stupid. You see what I mean? Okay.
When the Missouri Highway Patrol diving team arrived, they found Han's body at about 200 feet.
Chewie is the
Yo,
proud
RP
partner
Han.
of the Toronto
I don't know
Maple
what made him panic like that. I mean, obviously, you're underwater. I've seen a lot of people panic. People even panic in jump houses. Jumpy house. What do they call it again? Jump castles at birthday parties.
Main mouthpiece was open and out of his mouth. His backup mouthpiece, instead, was in his mouth with a small air leak. His tank still
the
had air,
fuck?
showing he didn't run out of breathing gas. Cave diving experts found that Han seems to have miscalculated how deep he could safely go with his breathing gases. His main gas didn't have enough helium for diving at those depths, making him more likely to get nitrogen narcosis. Besides, Han had also been manually adding too much oxygen to his system at 190 feet. Even small additions of oxygen can quickly reach dangerous levels at depth, possibly causing the oxygen poisoning that was noted. Doo-Doo Cave Tragedy.
Oh.
On February 9th, 2019, two Italian divers, Carlo Basso and Carlo Barbieri, went to explore the famous
RP
El
Han.
Doo-Doo cave system in the Dominican Republic. This underwater cave is known for its maze-like passages and beautiful scenery that attracts many divers. Neither
I'm
Basso
not going diving in no maze. My nigga, if I'm going diving, that shit better be
nor
bigger than a
Barbieri
football
had
field.
proper training for cave diving, as they only had regular open water diving experience.
Yeah,
By
open water,
11:50 a.m.,
that's me.
they had
I'm
entered
open
the
water
water.
diving
At
experience.
first, their dive went smoothly as they swam deeper into the cave. As they went further, though, the cave became darker and narrower. Then they made a critical mistake. They left the main guideline and entered a side passage. These side paths are more dangerous, which is why they're set apart from the main line. As they moved through this narrow space, they stirred up fine dirt from the cave floor.
Remember what I told you 2 minutes ago? That's the real killer? Oh my god. Oh, let's pray these guys get out alive.
The clear water quickly turned dirty,
That's
and
done.
they couldn't see anything. Their lights only bounced off.
If you think the light's gonna help? Oh my god. If you listen, I'm not even a diver, but I know these stories. If you get that muddy mud and all that dirt flowing in that gravel and all that extra shit in the atmosphere, and you have no rope, GG. Those niggas will have you swimming in the wrong way, thinking, oh my god.
Floating dirt particles, making them useless. Things quickly got worse.
Told
They
you.
had lost the main
The
guideline.
flashlight. What do
Every
you mean,
move
where's
they
the
made
main
stirred up
guideline,
more
nigga?
dirt,
You left it. No disrespect in case you guys are dead, but you left it.
making them even more confused. They couldn't even use hand signals to communicate because of how
can't
badly
see.
cloudy the water was. Each panicked breath used up their air supply faster. The situation became deadly when Basso's front air tank got tangled in the cave line. As he struggled to move, the line broke, cutting off their only reliable way back to the exit.
Wait.
They were now trapped in an unknown passage with no clear
Wait,
way
they were
out and
attached
running
to
out
the
of air.
cave
When
line?
the divers didn't return by mid-afternoon,
Or
people
they
waiting
have-
on land became worried. The Dominican Republic's Speleological Society was called. and
What?
two skilled divers
What? Speleological?
became worried. The Dominican Republic's Speleological
Speleological. I've never heard that word in my
Society
life.
was called, and two skilled divers, Philip Lehman and Angel Comper, started searching for them. The rescuers soon found cloudy water, the first sign of trouble. Then, they discovered a broken guideline leading into a narrow, dirt-filled passage. The water was so cloudy, they had to feel their way through. After hours of searching, they had to turn back without finding the
Wait,
missing
so
divers.
how the fuck?
The search
What makes these men in black divers different? They could just go into cloudy waters, touch, feel their way through, use their sixth sense, and then return back. But the other people couldn't.
continued the next day. On February 12th, 3 days after Basso and Barbieri entered the cave, rescuers found one of them. Carlo Barbieri's body was stuck in a narrow side passage, in a spot so tight that even the rescue divers had trouble reaching him. His gear was working fine, which means he likely ran out of air or drowned. The rescuers couldn't get his body out because the passage was too narrow and decided to leave the body there. By February 21st, after searching for nearly 2 weeks, the local team stopped looking. The risks were too great, and there was little hope of finding Basso alive. Two American divers divers, Ed Sorensen
Oh,
and Mike
well,
Young.
you know, if you can't do it, the Americans will come through and do it. Let's
Experts
see
in
how this
cave
goes.
rescue were called to help. After getting permission from
Call
worried
the
local
Americans.
officials, Sorensen and Young had 8 days to complete their mission, using special equipment, including a harness for tight spaces and a 4
When you're the chief operating officer,
Yeah,
every
isn't the
day
body-
can feel like
I know
an
this here.
uphill battle.
Fuck is this? Is there a skip button?
carefully moved into the narrow passage where Barbieri was found. Then, they discovered Basso's body the next day, stuck in a narrow passage beyond where they found Barbieri. Both bodies were eventually retrieved. Deepholder Sink 2.
R.I.P.
On May 11th, 1990, in Hernando County, Florida, 25-year-old Michael Spears and his diving partner Daniel, age 34, prepared to dive into Deepholder Sink 2,
The fuck
one
is
of
that?
Florida's most dangerous
That's
underwater.
gully water.
Age 34, prepared to dive into Deepholder Sink 2, one of
That doesn't
Florida's
even
most
look
dangerous
safe.
underwater cave systems. Michael had earned
Oh,
his
well,
cave
and it's the
diving
most
certification
dangerous.
just Florida's most dangerous underwater cave system.
You see how I just detect shit? Like,
County, Florida,
Like, I just-
25-year-old Michael Spears
Like, I
and his
don't know
diving
if it's
partner
the
Daniel,
nigga
age
census.
34, prepared to dive
but you could just, like, you know when death just talks to you? Or death whispers to you? Like, I've never seen no signal.
into Deepholder Sink
That
2,
just looks like
one of
nah.
Florida's most dangerous underwater cave systems.
And it's in
Michael
Florida.
had earned his cave
Florida,
diving certification
Florida,
just 5 months
Florida,
earlier, even though he had
Florida,
completed 75
Florida.
cave dives. Daniel, however, had over
The
10 years of
people-
experience.
Yo, if Florida and Australia had a collab, oh my gosh. Imagine if the people in Florida switched with the people from Australia and the shit in Australia stayed. Oh my god.
Unfortunately, recent rains had reduced visibility, but this didn't stop them. After checking their
Don't
gear,
stop me.
they entered the water. They carefully moved through the narrow entrance into the main cave. By the time they reached the junction room, the water had become very cloudy. They could barely see a few feet ahead with their lights.
Turn around.
They relied on the guideline, a thin rope that helps divers find their way in caves. When they reached the upper circuit line, the water cleared slightly. They adjusted their gear, gave each other okay hand signals, and began going deeper into the cave system. As they went past 200 feet deep, breathing
Now, okay
became
is not
harder.
enough for me. I don't know. Okay is just not sitting well for me. You need to sign language to me. You need to tell me, like, yo, are you breathing right? You're good? Air good? All types of shit. You're mentally good? Physically? Mentally? Physically? Mentally?
The compressed air felt heavier in their lungs. At this depth, divers can get nitrogen narcosis,
See what I mean?
which is like being
This is what
drunk
you have to
underwater
ask him.
as it slows thinking and reactions. Halfway through their dive, Daniel noticed something wrong. Michael had drifted below the guideline. At first, it was just a few feet, but then he went down faster, as if being pulled. His movements became weird. They were already near 250
Pulled?
feet deep, approaching the same junction room as before, where they would have to go back through the muddy water. When they reached the junction room once again, visibility dropped to 0. Michael reached for the guideline twice and missed.
Why weren't you holding the guideline from the get in to the get out? You think I'm alright.
Panic set in. Disoriented, he turned the wrong way, back into the
No.
cave instead of toward the exit. Daniel lost sight of him immediately. Michael was fighting for his life. He saw what he thought was a guideline and followed it, unknowingly swimming deeper into an isolated chamber called the downstream ballroom. The increasing depth made breathing harder as carbon dioxide built up in his blood. His vision darkened at the edges, and it was becoming clear that it was the beginning of a depth-induced blackout. When his buoyancy failed, he sank and lost consciousness before reaching the bottom. Meanwhile, Daniel completed his required safety stops to prevent decompression sickness, a process needed to let nitrogen safely exit the body. At his 30-foot stop, Daniel looked around for Michael but couldn't see him. By the time he reached the surface, other divers had arrived. They went back into the cave, following the guideline to the junction room, but couldn't find Michael. The next morning, a team of skilled cave divers began the rescue
the Men in
operation.
Black.
They
What is it with the Men in Black guys?
carefully followed the guideline to the junction room and into the lower circuit, moving slowly to avoid stirring up more sediment. After hours of searching, at 241 feet deep, they found Michael lying face down. His regulator remained in his mouth and his mask in place. Signs
Alright, they didn't. Alright, like I know Michael died, R.I.P. But
he had
you guys didn't have to animate the fucking.
blacked out before realizing he was in danger. His oxygen tank was still half full. The search took 7 hours. The rescue team secured his body and brought him to the surface. Experts concluded that nitrogen narcosis and depth-induced blackout, worsened by carbon dioxide buildup, had caused Michael's death.
R.I.P.
Wiki
Michael.
Washi Springs tragedy.
Yo, that's so fucked up. Like I keep telling you guys, the main killer is the fog. You think it's a joke? The main killer is the muddy gully goomy waters that you stir up.
Pewaukee Springs, Florida, 29-year-old
Florida?
experienced
Jesus
diver
Christ.
Marson Kay was working with the Karst Underwater Research Team to explore and map the underwater caves in the park. After checking their diving equipment, Kay and his team entered the water and started following the guideline. The team moved together in the dark water.
You know what might be the real problem? The real backdoor king? The guideline. I don't think the guideline is guiding people anywhere. The guideline's been fucking up. Guideline. We need a guideline update.
Studying the cave at
We
depths
need LED guidelines
over 100
with
feet.
Bluetooth
They kept a steady pace
and Wi-Fi.
to avoid getting too much nitrogen in their blood. After finishing their work and starting to come back up, Kay stayed close to the guideline, but around 4:30 p.m., something changed. As they got near the cave exit, Kay suddenly swam away from the guideline. He went up into a tight...
The guideline, I'm telling you right now, the guideline be whispering. It'd be like, get off me, little nigga. You need a rope in the ocean? You really need a skinny-ass rope in the ocean? You're a punk, get off of me. And they get off of him. I'm really believing that. The guideline's whispering to niggas like the Green Goblin mask.
crack in the rock, a space so narrow
What?
that divers with tanks on their sides would have trouble
You can't tell me the guideline's not whispering to niggas. He's squeezing his head through a... What made you do that? It's whispering.
fitting through. His movements became quick and weird. The other divers noticed and tried to signal him with their lights, flashing them to tell him to stop. Since
Or
that
maybe
didn't
he
work,
thought
they
that was
tried
the
tapping
exit.
him, but Kay didn't respond normally. He pushed farther into the narrow crack, twisting his body to get through. Safety divers nearby couldn't do anything as Kay squeezed himself deeper into the tight space. After 5 minutes, they saw his breathing regulator wasn't in his mouth anymore. The team immediately called for help, but the narrow
He's
crack made it
done,
very
RIP.
hard to reach Kay. When a rescue diver finally reached
Where the
him,
fuck did
it
Men in
was
Black
too
come from?
late. He wasn't responding, even though his tanks still had plenty of air and his equipment was working fine. He had passed out and drowned in the tight space where he was stuck. Kay's body was brought to the surface just before 5 p.m. After the accident, the Karst team explained that Kay didn't deliberately leave the guideline and swim into the crack. They explained he had an air bubble in the blood vessels of his brain, a condition caused by coming up too quickly, which can make a diver confused and unable to think clearly. Paradise Springs tragedy.
Yo, what's going on in the water? You gotta go up, stop, wait 30 minutes, let nitro Josh go through your body. Then you gotta fucking hold the guideline, and if you don't, you die. Then you gotta, it's not, the water is evil.
On September 22nd, 1996, at Paradise Springs, Florida, two friends, Jake Miller and Lisa
Florida.
Carter, went diving in an underwater cave. Both knew how to dive in open water, but had no training for cave diving.
Open water diving is not nothing. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to hate
Specifically,
him saying
and to
that.
make dive in open water.
Like, hey, look, what the fuck is this? Open water diving. That's nothing. I could do that. And if I could do that, we could do that. Like, so, I don't know. It just seems like, I don't know. It seems stupid when they say that. Like, open water diving, and then,
But had no training for cave diving
yeah, like, and no training, because that's two different things.
specifically, and to make things
You will die in cave diving if you fuck up the slightest mistake. Open water diving, the only thing probably gonna get you is you going down and not coming up and doing your little 30 minutes, 10 minutes wait. That's the only thing that could kill you. And obviously the animals and the sharks and shit.
was worse. They didn't bring a safety line to find their way back.
Jesus
They
Christ.
entered the cave and descended 60
I know I've been dissing the safety lines, but I don't know. This could be a good thing or this is a bad thing. Nah, that's a bad thing. Even though the safety line is evil and it speaks to you, that nigga.
feet when they turned
He
on
has
their
his good days and his
flashlights
bad
to see
days.
as they headed towards the passages. Jake went first, with Lisa following. As they went deeper, the passage got narrower. At 148 feet, they had gone deeper than they planned, but they kept going.
hold on.
Suddenly, Jake
Do I hear like Undertaker piano music in the background?
kicked up dirt from the cave floor by accident, clouding the water, and
GG.
within seconds, suddenly,
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to say GG.
Jake kicked up dirt from the cave floor by
But I've been telling you since the 3-minute mark, don't fuck with the dirt. If you fuck with the dirt, turn around ASAP. Turn around ASAP. So hopefully they did that.
accident, clouding the water, and within seconds, they couldn't see anything. Lisa tried to grab Jake but couldn't find him in the cloudy water. Jake, lost and unable to see, started to panic. He breathed faster, using up his air quickly. While feeling around for a way out, his hand found a narrow crack in the rock. He tried to squeeze through it, but his air tank and straps got stuck in the tight space. He couldn't move, couldn't see. and was completely lost in the dark. Meanwhile, Lisa felt movement in the water. She thought the cave might be falling in, so she quickly decided to
What the
swim back to
fuck?
the surface. After reaching safety, she called for help right away. Back in the cave,
Lisa turned
Jake
around,
was
though.
struggling to stay alive. His chest was pushed against the rock, his shoulders stuck in the crack. With his air running low, he desperately worked to take off his straps and, eventually, got free from his tank. He was no longer stuck, but now had no air supply and no light in the dark, cloudy water. Jake pushed away from the rock and tried to swim up to reach the surface. Rescue divers came within an hour. They went into the cave and searched through the cloudy water. They found that the cave had not collapsed as first reported. They found
Duh,
Jake's body
nigga.
in the crack, but he wasn't stuck anymore. Investigators realized that after freeing himself by taking off his tank and straps, Jake tried to swim to the surface. As he went up,
You
the
can't
air in his
do
lungs
that.
expanded and likely caused a bubble in his blood, making him pass out before he could reach safety. His body was found floating in the water at 144 feet deep. Lisa survived and later admitted they hadn't taken the risks seriously enough.
What?
If you like this video,
Yo,
subscribe to...
nah. What? You did not. What? Yo, hold on. I want to edit so bad, but what?
Water at
Fuck, hold on, let me put my
144
headphones
feet
back on,
deep.
'cause
Lisa
I gotta talk to
survived
Lisa.
and later admitted they hadn't taken the risks seriously enough.
Fuck you mean you haven't taken the risk seriously enough? How much people have died? Yo, I'm not. I can't even talk to you.